So first of all, I would like to express my gratitude for Venerable Professor K.L. Dhammajoti Thera for giving me this opportunity, as well as for the staff of the Buddha Dharma Center. So my topic is grief management and Buddhist psychotherapy. So I would like to draw your attention on the theme grief and modern grief counseling. So according to the modern context, so they understand grief as a common emotion, natural response to the loss, natural emotion, an experience when one is parted from the what's desire, etc. This is the modern understanding on the context. It's really from the Western. So there are many causes of grief. It may be death, relationship breakup, loss of health, loss of job, loss of safety after trauma, miscarriage, illness, retirement. So these are the causes of the grief. So but in my context, in my area, I would like to limit it grief caused by the death. That's because it's a very widespread area. So I would like to limit my discussion to the specific cause, that's the death. So grief regarding the death, that's my focus area. So when it comes to the complexity of grief, these are the understanding of the grief. So if we are suffering from grief, so these are the things: intense longing and yearning for the deceased. So I'm not going to read these things, but intrusive thoughts or image of the loved ones. In this way, there are a lot of understanding on grief. These are also from the modern context. So there are a lot of myths about grief. So if you are suffering from grief, or if you just try to forget it, so there are some myths about grief. They think that if you just stop grief and if you are going to start new life, starting new life means you have forgotten your loss. So people who are suffering from grief, so sometimes they don't like to stop it. Why? They think that starting new life means you have forgotten your loss. So be strong to deal with loss. So there's another misunderstanding. So to face to the grief, you have to be so strong. If not, you cannot face. So grieving will last about a year. There are such sort of misunderstanding regarding grief. Ignoring grief and it will go away faster. So just ignore it. So we are all human beings. So according to Buddhist teachings, we are the human beings of two elements. It's mean really physical and psychological. We are the beings of emotional, spiritual, affective, rational, or we can say cognitive. So then how we can just know it? Because we are the beings of emotional as well as affective, then we can say rational. So then how we can just know grief? Because we have, according to Buddhism, two aspects. That's really emotional and rational. Emotional, it starts from compassion. So every human being, they can develop compassion up to the optimum level, that is great compassion, which is a very strong part of the Buddha. So another one is the rational. It starts from the panya, wisdom. So when we develop it to the optimum level, it becomes great wisdom. So then as we are human beings, so we all have that emotional and rational, compassion and wisdom. So how we can just forget our grief, because we have the emotional part. So we cannot ignore it. In this way, there are a lot of myths about grief. When it comes to the stages of grief, so these are the modern, the anatomy of stages of the grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. There are 5 steps in the modern context regarding how to deal with grief. Denial. This cannot be happen to me. Regarding the death, if your most loved one dies, so you don't like to accept it. This cannot be happening to me. So they are not ready to accept it. Then after that, so due to my refusing to accept it, so I am struggling. As a result of this struggling, anger comes. Why this happening? Who is to be blamed? So it means the anger. So behind the griever, lot of anger with him. So according to Buddhism, we understand that behind the griever, desire is there. It's a survival tendency. So when you struggle with desire, so it means your survival tendencies, then you realize that you are going to miss, then anger comes. That's a reaction. So most probably in the stage of grief, we see that anger is there. Then the bargaining, make this not happen, and in return I will. So he bargains. When it comes to the serious level, we see the depression. The anger really creates the depression. Then finally, struggling with the depressions, he has to accept it. But still the depression is there. So these are the stage of grief. Now we come to the Buddhism. So earlier I explained really the things which are related to the modern grief counseling systems, modern grief explanations. So with reference to the Buddhist teachings, grief and Buddhist psychotherapy, you can see my aim is really to understand grief caused by death and to understand grief counseling process based on Buddhist psychotherapy. Okay. So there are some other things even how to deal with the grief. So we can see that acknowledge your pain, and there are some steps. So according to Buddhism, there are types of grief in Buddhist suttas. These are the anatomies of grief. First one we understand according to the Pali. Most probably I am going to take all the details from the early Buddhist teachings, Pali. In early Buddhist teaching, the language is Pali. In accordance with the early Buddhist teachings, we recognize the grief and stages as soka, parideva, domanassa, and upayas. So I will explain them. Soka. This is from the Satcha Vibhanga Sutta from the Majjhima Nikaya. What is soka? It is the grief, sorrow, sorrowfulness, inward grief, the inner pain of one visited by some kinds of calamity or other smitten by some kinds of ill or other. So this is the first stage of soka or a grief. This is how Buddhism understands the first stage of grief. So when it comes to Buddhist teaching, as far as the Buddhist psychology is concerned, Buddhist psychology tries to understand very, every layers of the consciousness or a mind. We can say that subliminal tendencies. There are 3 levels of the mind. The first one is covered non-functional level, the latent level, covered non-functional level, then covered functional level, then overt functional level. So when it comes to the grief, so grief also is connected with some layers. So when we have a griever and when we are going to counsel him, so we have to understand what sort of level his grieving is belonging to. Subliminal tendencies of the mind. So according to Buddhist psychotherapy, mind is divided into two as sampajanana and asampajanana. Asampajanana is unconscious level and sampajanana is conscious level. So in Buddhist teaching, Buddhism is very careful to understand the very tiny, the latent or subliminal tendencies of the mind. That's why when it comes to the grief is concerned under these stages. The first one is soka. This is the Buddhist explanation regarding soka. It is the grief or sorrow, sorrowfulness or inward grief, the inner pain of one visited by some kinds of calamity or other. This is the first stage. So Buddhism goes far beyond this stage. The second one is parideva. So now according to the Buddhism, once again the first one, this is so natural, soka. It's natural. Sometimes no need to give treatment. It's so natural. So in this step, in this soka step, Buddhism doesn't recognize this step as a psychological ill or abnormal behavior. Some people can get rid of this stage regarding their personality types. According to Buddhist psychology, there are 6 kinds of personality types. 6 kinds of personality types. First one is desire personality, raga charita, desire personality. Second one is hateful personality, hatred personality, hatred, hate, H-A-T-E, hate, hatred personality. So much hate, hateful. We call in Pali dosa charita. Then moha charita, deluded personality. Then faithful personality, saddha charita, faithful. Then intellectual personality, and the last one is we can say the last one is speculative personality, vitakka, is speculative. If you think too much, it's not so good. Your understanding is not clear. That's why you are thinking too much. So according to these 6 character types, there are some people from the nature, so they have the psychological strength to face to grief. So then there are some people no need to have treatment regarding their grieving. So sometimes they end their grief in this level, soka level. This level they can just finish it. There are some people they cannot. So then it becomes an action. Now here parideva means grief or grieving becomes an action. It is crying. Now it comes to his action, verbal and physical action. This is the action of the grief. It is the crying, it is the wailing, it is the act of crying, the act of wailing, the state of crying, the state of wailing of one visited by some calamity or smitten by some kinds of ill or other. Now, if the person cannot stop grief at the first level, soka, it becomes an action. In this place, we need counseling. in this place we need some sort of help from others to get rid of grieving. This is a place where we need the help for grieving. Why? It is the crying, it is the wailing, it becomes an action. So if we are not having a treatment for this action, it becomes too worse. Domanassa. It becomes a psychological illness. Domanassa means psychological illness. It is mental suffering, mental disagreeableness arising from an impediment on the mind experienced as suffering, as disagreeableness. In the modern context, we understand this level as the depression. Now, grieving becomes depression. So, here we need psychotherapy, not the counseling. We need psychotherapy now. So serious. Counseling is not enough. So, it goes further. Upayasa. Now, it is despondency, despair, the state of despondency. Now, this is the condition. This is the total personality. Now, his whole life is grieving. His whole entire life is full of sorrow, nothing else. Learned behavior is the condition now. Sometimes we need medication, sometimes we need drugs therapy. This is the anatomy of grief in Buddhism. So this is the Buddha's understanding on grief 2600 years ago. 2600 years ago. So according to Buddhist teaching, there is a sutra called Roga. Roga means disease sutta. Disease sutta, very Roga. Roga, R. Roga means disease sutta. It is from Anguttara Nikaya. In this Roga Sutta, Buddha says that there are two kinds of illnesses. One is physical, other one is psychological. 2600 years ago. One is physical, other one is psychological. In this sutta, Buddha says that everybody can get rid of physical illnesses. For 1 year, if they are taking good medication, they can get rid of physical illnesses for 1 year, 2 or 20 or for 100 years. Our limitation is having 100 years of life. That's a Buddhist focus, giving you 100 years. Furthermore, you cannot. That's Buddhist focus. So, if you are taking good meditation, you can have 100 years. It means you can be free from physical illness for 100 years. But except an Arahant, fully liberated persons, other all people are suffering from psychological illnesses minute by minute. That's mean you, including me. All unenlightened are deranged. That's a Buddhist understanding. All unenlightened are deranged. Except an Arahant, fully liberated. And when it goes to the other levels, Buddha says, not fully, except and fully unenlightened being, there are some other liberated beings. There's a gap, fully liberated and unenlightened. We are, including myself, according to Buddhism, if the persons who they have not attained to Nibbana, they are understood as unenlightened. If we have not gone to the Buddhahood, we are unenlightened. So, fully liberated and unenlightened, there are some gaps, there are some liberated beings. In Theravada Buddhism, Pali Buddhism, we recognize as stream winner level, one returner level, non-returner level, and fully liberated. So Buddha says that not only fully liberated, other liberated beings are also having very slight mental distortions. That's a Buddhist understanding regarding psychological illnesses. Psychological illnesses. It means that we can get rid of physical illnesses for 100 years, but if we are not fully liberated, minute by minute, we are suffering from psychological illnesses. That's the Buddhist understanding. So when it comes to payasa, it means this is the condition of the grief. So now his full life is grieving. So here we need medication, psychotherapy. So psychology of grief according to Buddhist psychotherapy, so it's a very important one. It is really from the Piyajatika. Piyajatika means born of affection. There's a sutra called born of affection. In this sutta, Buddha says that for householders, the people just like us, grief, sorrow, suffering, lamentation, despair are born of affection or originated in affection for children, spouse, parents or lovers. We have a huge attachment to these objects. This is called objective desire. This is the objective desire. We have the attachment to the things, living beings. So we are having the grief regarding our children, spouse, parents, lover. When we miss them, when our children's spouse when they are dying, so we have a very huge attachment. That's the objective desire. So we are naturally having grief. It's the nature. To have grief is a nature. So this is the objective desire. We have the attachment to the world. We have the attachment to the living beings. We have the attachment to the country, but my focus is only to human being, the death. But when we are leaving our country, homesick comes. It's a really objective attachment. Buddhism goes far beyond that. Then Buddhism says that why grief comes, not getting what one desire, that is too is anguish. This is subjective desire. We have two kinds of desire, objective and subjective. We have mental attachment. So Buddhism recognizes this as desire. Desire. So we are having grief regarding objective desire and subjective desire. It is totally regarding desire. Buddhism goes far beyond that and says it's a very important and little bit comprehensive point in Buddhist psychotherapy. Grief is the 5 groups of grasping. Grief is the 5 groups of grasping that are anguish. Very important one. The group of 5 grasping means, according to the Buddhist psychotherapy, so the individual is concerned as a combination of 2 elements, that is physical and mental. Physical and mental. We have a huge combination. Suppose this is the 2 bamboo bundle, bamboo sutta. So 2 bamboo bundle, they can exist themselves in this way. When we are removing one, other one will come down. So body cannot remain without mind, mind cannot remain without body. They have a reciprocal combination. So this is the individual in the sense. So Buddhism recognizes this individual as 5 faculty. We call 5 group of grasping. 5 group of grasping on the other way. So regarding my 5 faculty, so I have nose, ear, tongue. So through these ear, nose, tongue, I just connect with the external environment. Through eyes, I am getting form, pictures. Through nose, I am getting smell. Ear, I am getting the sounds. So, according to the Buddhism, it is stated there that we have really the attachment. From mind, we have the attachment to the external world. This connection is concerned as the internal world. This is the internal world. This is the external world. So what I see, what I hear, what I get the experience, it's external real. So then Buddhism says that the main cause of the grief is the attachment to the external world. So I am getting forms, I am getting sounds, I am getting smell, experiences. So then what are the things I am getting from the outside to inside? Then I have a huge attachment to these things. These are the experiences. Buddhism recognizes that from my body and my 5 faculties, I am getting so many experiences from the outside to inside. Those experiences are keeping in my mind. We can call them as memory. So really I have the attachment to the memory. Memories, experiences. Why I am grieving? I have so much attachment to my members. It means my lovers, my children. If somebody dies, I am really struggling, not regarding the death, but regarding the experiences belonging to them. Is it clear? So I am really grieving. I have so many uncountable experiences regarding those dying people. I cannot forget them. I am really struggling with them. So that's why a lot of people who are grieving, they are taking the parts of the dead people. Some people, they are keeping with them ash, some cloth, some so important memories, the photos. So they are keeping with them. So they are not allowed to die for the died person. That's attachment. Don't go. He's already gone. But with the attachment, we are struggling. Keeping the photos with them, keeping their body parts, sometimes bones, keeping their ash, photos. So, most important thing is Buddhism says the main cause of grief is the attachment. Attachment from my mind. Attachment means desire. Desire. Why I am grieving? Finally, it's my personal desire. But the griever cannot understand it. That's why we need counseling. That's a psychological meaning. Why I am really crying? That's my desire. Desire for what? Desire for the experiences what I am keeping in my mind regarding the dead person. Attachment. Buddhism says there is not a world in the outside. Outside there isn't a world. Only the concrete things, material things. World is within this pathong long body. World within my psyche. That's my conceptual world. Buddhism says we cannot change the external world. Why? There isn't a world. My world is regarding Sri Lankan experiences. Now I am in Hong Kong. It's okay. But in conceptual world, I have so many experiences from my childhood up to now regarding my conceptual world. So my world means my conceptual world. My world means my experiences regarding the dead person. I have so much attachment to him. So I am keeping all the memories alive in my mind. So I am struggling with them. when I am struggling with them, so I cannot get rid of them. So Buddhism says main cause for grieving is the attachment, desire. So Buddhism recognizes the desire in various forms. Really, desire means survival tendency. I'm trying to survive, then I need somebody. I need a person. That's a psychological understanding. So I have a craving, I have impulse, I have passion, I have enjoyment, love, or it becomes thirst. Desire means this meaning. Desire means these meanings. So we can go further. Then what is desire? So according to Buddhist psychological explanation, there are 3 unwholesome mental roots. Unwholesome. First one is desire. Other one is hate. Desire. So we recognize the desire here as that's my according to the Sigmund Freud, he says this is a pleasure principles. So desire means I am using my desire to fulfill my 5 faculty. I want to fulfill my eye. I want to fulfill my nose. So mind uses desire through my 5 faculty to get the satisfaction. Mind uses my eye, mind uses my nose, tongue to get the enjoyment, satisfaction. So from the very beginning, as a child, so we have brought here to this life desire. It is really of 3 forms. First one is desire for fulfilling my 5 faculty. That's the first one. Second one, it is recognized in Buddhism that when I am having experiences fulfilling my 5 faculty, so I get experiences, desireful experiences, I am keeping them in my mind. It's we call, you can see here, bhava tanha, self-preservation. Bhava means here re-becoming. Here re-becoming means if I have experienced my faculty, so I keep such experiences in my mind as memory. So then I want to enjoy these experiences further and further. When you have experienced your skin, let's say sexual intercourse, so you have the experiences regarding that. So when you have experienced your tongue for the foods, you want to have it again and again. When you experience your ear taking some good music and so on, you want to listen it again and again. It means re-becoming. We call it as what? Self-preservation. So this is the first one is desire nature. When you are using your nature, you want to take it again and again, it becomes re-becoming. Clear? It's become re-becoming. So then Buddhism recognizes that when you are having some disturbances from the outside to fulfill your desire as well as re-becoming, you create another tendency towards hate. So now you want your lost, you want your departed one to enjoy your things, but he is no more. Then you are taking what? Hate. Who create hate? Desire. So now this is the natural tendency, nature. When you are getting disturbances from the nature to fulfill your desire, reaction is hate. When you are struggling in between desire and hate, it creates ignorance. delusion. The grieving person are in this dilemma. The grieving person is in this rotation, circle. Then we need counseling. We need psychotherapy. We need medication to get rid of this problem issue. This is the Buddhist psychological analysis of grieving. So main cause of grieving is desire. It may be love, it may be thirst, it may be attachment. Your loved one is gone. You are not ready to accept it. Then you have a reaction, hate. So then you can see a lot of grievers, they have a unbearable hate for other people or for a society or for their close members. Why you don't like to accept it? So if you cannot accept your anger, and if you cannot understand this grieving is really from desire, it creates ignorance. Ignorance. So finally, the causes of the grieving means desire, hate and delusion. So we have to remove the desire, very difficult. So then this is the attachment. So we have to get rid of this detachment. We have a great attachment to desire. If we really want to get rid of, we have to disengage from this. Then we have to provide the knowledge for the griever to understand that you have hate. Cognitive transformation is very important. To show the delusion within his mentality, ignorance, to show his own ignorance, we need the knowledge, psychoeducation, or let's say cognitive transformation. So in the causes of grieving, Buddhism recognized that we need spiritual, affective, emotional, cognitive transformation. We need to provide the spiritual transformation, emotional transformation, as well as cognitive transformation to get rid of grieving. So, in the Buddhist understanding, the ignorance, we understand this is as the distortion of thoughts, distortion of, we can say, thoughts, views. So we have to remove these fundamental misknowledge, distortions. We come to the disorders of grief. So I would like to draw your attention for a particular sutta, that is Piyajatika, affection sutta. The case is father whose son died, so no desire to work, eat, keeps going every day to the cemetery, crying out, "Where have you done? Where have you gone?" It should be gone. "Where have you gone, my little one?" It's a mistake. "Where have you gone, my little one?" The next case you can see, daughter whose mother died. Since her passing away, the mother, she, the daughter, unbalanced, unhinged, went from street to street, from crossroad to crossroad, crying, "Have you not seen my mother? Have you not seen my mother?" These grievers, really they know that they are no more. They are no more. But they perform abnormal behaviors. See, "Where have you gone, my little one?" That's why they are keeping some objects regarding the dead persons. "Have you not seen my mother?" So they question from the others. They really know that they are no more, but they are questioning. from others. That's the disorders of grief. When it comes to next one, a certain woman went to her relation's family. Those relations of her, having forcibly taken from her husband, decided to give her to another one. But she did not want him. Then the woman spoke thus to her husband, those relations of mine, my dear husband, having forcibly taken me from you, want to give me to another, but I don't want him. Then that man, having cut that woman into two, thinking we will be both come to be hereafter, destroying himself. So it means that this lady possibly was given another person. She was given to another person by force. She really did not want to go with that person. Their relatives did it. Then she sent a message. The husband came and he says that I am already to cut you into two pieces. I am killing you. She says that okay, please kill me. And he himself committed suicide. It means that if I have a huge attachment to something or somebody else, I can even bear my pain. Unbearable pain I can bear because my attachment is too huge. Is it clear? So when I have a strong attachment, I am all ready to die. I am all ready to bear unbearable pain. This lady says that okay, kill me, because now they are going to give me to another one. I don't want him. I want to live with you. So his husband separated her into two pieces, thinking that we can meet in next life. So such things may be happened when we are going to miss our loved one. These are really abnormal behaviors. So when our attachment becomes too strong, whenever our attachment becomes too strong, we don't know what we are doing. We don't know what we are talking. We don't know what we are doing by our physical action. We don't know what we are doing through our mental action. So we will be blind when our attachment becomes so strong to our loved one. So Buddhism has recognized so many problematic behaviors, psychological issues regarding grieving. So many examples are available. So when it comes to the next one, very important sutta, soka sallaharana sutta, is from the Anguttara Nikaya. Soka means grieving. Salla means poisonous arrow, poisoned arrow. Harana means removing. In this sutta, Buddha says that grieving is just like a poisonous arrow attached to your heart. So we want to remove it. It becomes grief management. The real meaning of the Soka Sallaharana Sutta means grief management. Soka means grief. Salla here means a poisoned arrow. How to remove poisoned, just like poisoned arrow, grief. How to remove grief? That becomes the Soka Sallaharana Sutta or grief management. In this grief management sutta, we come across with another example regarding a king. There was a king. He lost his beloved queen. After her death, this king stopped everything. He missed his royal duty. He missed his foods and all the actions. So as a king, he cannot do these things. He is having a very great responsibilities. But regarding her queen death, he just stopped everything. So when we have the loved one, we are so strong. When we have the loved one, we are so active. We are so strong enough. When we miss them, we are inactive. We don't want to have foods. We don't want to do our things, activities. We don't want to keep in punctual. So this king also did the same way. Then the minister thinks that we cannot let the king to do these things, country is going down. So we want to manage his grief. Then they invited to a venerable, most erudite venerable. He comes and he says, in this world, there are 5 things we cannot really trust, we cannot really gain. Regarding this sutta, the 5 things are really in this sutta. This venerable comes and advises to king how to get rid of the grief. We can say it's really just like a cognitive transformation method. Later we can discuss. The first thing is old age. We are all going old. We cannot stop it. So we have to face it. If you don't like to face it, result is grief. That's the first advice. Second thing is illness. Physical or psychological illness. We all have to face 2 illnesses. We cannot get rid of them. We cannot go away from the illnesses. That's the second reality in this world. You must face it. Third one is the death. We cannot go away from the death. We all are dying. I am very sure it. We all are very sure that we are dying one day. That's a nature. In Buddhism, there is a sutra called meditation on death. Marananussati, mindfulness on death. Buddha had a talk with some venerable. Buddha questioned from one venerable that how you are practicing mindfulness on death. Once a week I am practicing. Buddha says, not so bad. Buddha questioned another one, how you are practicing. So after 5-6 days I am practicing. You are good than the first one. Then Buddha comes to next. In this way they are saying, I am practicing mindfulness 3 days. Some person mentioned that I am practicing mindfulness every day. Buddha says, very good. Then last one says, I am practicing mindfulness minute by minute. Buddha says, you are the most important person. Minute by minute. It means that death anytime may come for us. If we have developed it, so we have a consciousness regarding death. So then I am trying to get the best use of time because we are dying. Then I should not miss the things. When I have a friend, I know that I am dying. I am having a good discussions with him. I don't know whenever I die. I don't know the time when I die. If you have the mindfulness on death, mean you are taking the best use of the time. Can you get the meaning? Can you follow me? You don't miss any time. You try to get the best use of every time. Because we are dying. When you are having a good discussions with your wife, you are giving the best chance for that discussion because we are dying. I don't know the time when I am missing you. Buddha says, we must practice mindfulness on death minute by minute. It means that we are dying. So we are get the best use of time. One day we are dying. We don't know the time. Then why you are having the hate for your friend? We all are dying. Why we are having hate? Tomorrow you will die. Then with the hate you are dying. So why you are having hatred? Why you are having anger means you have not practiced mindfulness on death. The person who is practicing the mindfulness on death means he is having very good love with others. He is getting the best use of the time. He is enjoying the life minute by minute. When I am going to take my lunch, I don't know this may be the last lunch. So you must enjoy it in a better way. Then sure you will have the next lunch too. The people, those who don't know that we are not dying, they don't take the best use of the time. Best use of time. So anyhow, the third one is we cannot go away from the death. First one is old age. Second one is illness. Third one is the death. The fourth one is the change. Everything is being changed. We cannot change it. The truth of the world is change. Unchangeable thing of the world is being changing. So we cannot go away from that. The last one is the loss, or we can say the grief. So then the venerable, he is giving advices for the griever, the king. You have really lost your wife, but this is the nature. So we have to accept this. So when it comes to the next one, so in this way the same story. So finally king was given very good advice. The sutta says that in the other steps he was able to get rid of the grief, but later I explain what was the theory and the practical component there that supported him to get rid of the grief. Later we can discuss. So in this one, grief disorders, so this sutta says, he who is overwhelmed by desire plans his harm and the others and the harm of both. He performs immoral acts in deed. It's very important. So according to Buddhism, when you have grief, if you don't try to accept the grief, next result is hate. So you are trying to give harm for yourself and you are trying to give the harm for the others. You are giving suffering for yourself as well as for the others. These are the psychological issues of the grieving. Now we are coming through the case studies. So we see that so they are going to the crossroad to crossroad. They are asking from the people, have you seen my son? He is no more. And this like kings, so they are missing their responsibilities. Finally, so they are all ready to commit suicide or to destroy the society. There are some sort of problematic issues of the grief. So it means that in the final sense, grief should be given counseling, psychotherapy, as well as medication. I think you can remember, I explain you anatomy of grief going through Pali terms, soka, paridev, upayasa, like that, domanasa, I explain you. So then there are various stages of grief as well as psychological, as well as problematic behavior of the grief. In the final sense, it is very dangerous because you are getting hate from yourself and from the society. Now the time is for little break. Thank you very much. So as we discussed earlier, there are related problematic behaviors as well as psychological issues of grieving. So effects are on several levels. The effects of the grief are on several levels. So you can see that it affects on the behavioral domain, emotional domain, cognitive, as well as spiritual. So behavioral patterns you can see: disturbed sleep, social withdrawal, crying, neurotic response, absent-mindedness. In this way you can see there are behavioral patterns related to grief. So physical reactions of grief, you can say fatigue, nausea, lower immunity, weight loss, weight gain. So aches and pains, insomnia, tiredness in chest, etc. We recognize that. physical reaction as well as emotional reactions too, sadness, anger, guilt and anxiety, loneliness. So there are emotional reactions. So we recognize the cognitive reactions too, depression, oppression, obsession, confession, hallucination, disbelief. So then we need counseling and psychotherapy for grief. So in the Buddhist context, counseling and psychotherapy are not really separated discipline. In Buddhism, we recognize counseling and psychotherapy together. The Pali term for this component is Dhamma therapy, Dhamma patikara or patikara. Dhamma means Dhamma, patikara means the treatment. So Buddha has used this Pali term 2600 years ago. Dhamma patikara. Patikara means the treatment. The equivalent English translation for patikara means treatment. So we see when we are going through the sources, we can see that Buddha is recognized under two technical terms, Bisakko and Salakatto. Bisakko means physician. Salakatto means supreme surgeon, surgery. So Buddha has played very important two roles as a physician as well as surgeon. But we know that Buddha hasn't touched, according to the Pali, Buddha hasn't touched the body. He touched the mind. So then what's the use for these physical or as surgeons? So it means Buddha has played very important role, physicians for counseling, surgeon for psychotherapy. So when it comes to the counseling in the modern context, counseling is for less disturbed problems, psychological problems. So in Buddhism, when we are going through the Buddhist sources, we see that we understand that Buddha has given counseling supports for less disturbed conscious issues. This is the example. One venerable had some sort of less disturbed issue, problem. Then Buddha involved in this case, addressing to the client. Buddha says that I am here to advise you, I am here to assist you, I am here to instruct you. This is Buddhist counseling. In Buddhist counseling, at the first stage, client is given advice. We call Ovada Patikara, advice therapy. In the second stage, the client doesn't like to get rid of the problem. He hasn't a psychological energy to face to the present context. He's using some sort of self mechanism to go away from the present context. So he's going to either past or the future. So he doesn't come to the present. So we have to assist him to bring him from either past or future to the present. So we have to assist him. When you are going to assist him, sometime the client may hit you, client may blame you. So you have to bear them. So you have to have a very good wholesome mentality to face to that. It means loving kindness, compassion. So that is the assist. So then instruct. It means to change his mentality towards spiritual, emotional and cognitive transformation. You have to instruct him. This threefold area is based on counseling in Buddhist context. So this is the client according to Buddhist teaching. There are three kinds of client. So raga, desire character. So his body context, his biological context or physiological basis is existed on phlegm. Phlegm supposed to increase desire, desire supposed to increase phlegm. There's a reciprocal combination, mind and body mechanism. So when it comes to the hatred, in his body context, bile is excessive. So in this way, in Buddhist counseling process, we try to recognize a client as desire or hatred or delusion. Not only that, when we are going through these desire, hatred, delusion clients, they have emotional, spiritual, environment, as well as physical and psychological domains. So concerning these all things into consideration, we have to provide the counseling. Then we can change the desire character into faithful or saddha. It means desire. Only three characters, when we change them, desire becomes saddha, desire becomes buddhi, it means intellectual, delusion becomes vitakko, speculative. According to Buddhism, there are three character types. We can change them into two stages, that means faithful and intelligent. It means in accordance with going through physical, psychological, biological, environmental, emotional, etc., we have to give the counseling regarding these all elements of the each and every client. It means as a doctor, when he understands that client is having fever, we have to give relevant treatment only for a fever, not for the stomach ache. In the context of counseling regarding the problems, nature of the problem, relevant, direct, one issue focus is to be given to the client. Just as a physician. Physician understand fever, stomach ache, toothache separately. In the counseling process, we have to understand the issues, and there should be relevant, direct treatment. That's how Buddhism understands counseling. Psychotherapy. When it comes to psychotherapy, it is very clear that we are giving the psychotherapy for a more disturbed client, not the less disturbed, more disturbed. His problem is so serious, he is performing a lot of psychological and problematic behaviors. So in the Buddhism, this is the way of doing surgery. It means psychosurgery, it means the mental surgery. Buddha is compared to a surgeon. You can see, according to the Buddhism, the wound means your eye, ear, nose, tongue and mind. So from your physical body, you are performing problematic behavior. From your mentality, you are performing psychological problems. So 5 faculty in the sense, you are performing verbal, physical, mental disorders. We recognize it as a wound, the illness. When it comes to poison, so you cannot understand these causes. It's ignorance. So when a client is in a so serious situation, he cannot recognize the things as they are. It's ignorance, just like poison. It means the surgery means a surgeon tries to take out the poison arrow attached to the skin. So now the wound and the arrow, poison's arrow, according to Buddhism, poison's arrow means the ignorance. So griever in ignorance is just like poison arrow. Why is grieving? Due to craving. That's the arrow. Poison is the ignorance, arrow is craving. So you cannot recognize them. So then mindful, it should be mindless, not mindfulness, craving. So you cannot understand it. It means mindless. So then the doctor is using his probe. So Buddhism uses mindfulness. Knife means noble discernment. Surgeons mean the Buddha, psychotherapist. So dealing with the so serious psychological issue means just like a surgery, psychosurgery. So as a therapy, you have to be more careful and you have to go through piece by piece, step by step, not just like counseling. Counseling is just like a school, psychotherapy is just like a hospital. This is the Buddhist therapy, only therapy in the world. Only therapy in the world according to Buddhism is mindfulness. One therapy is in Buddhism. It is mindfulness. So this is really from a sutta called Baddhe Karatta. It's very important sutta. Baddhe Karatta. In this sutta, Buddha says that client all the time in past, not in the present. He's using self-mechanism, defense mechanism to go away from the problem. This is the therapy. Buddha says, only way to get rid of the problem is mindfulness. Here we are having 2 practical classes for mindfulness. This is the misunderstood concept in the world. I went through a lot of mindfulness readings, so I came across with a lot of understanding regarding mindfulness. So today we understand MBCT, MBS, MBSR, DCT, ACT like that. MBSR, mindfulness based stress reduction. MBCT, mindfulness based cognitive therapy. DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. So really good, but so many lacking points are there. This is the only therapy Buddhism recognizes for a psychological issue. First thing is that why they are in the past or the future. Buddhism says client, he hasn't a good psychological energy to face to the reality. Then we have to provide, he is in mindless. Then we have to provide him the mindfulness to understand the background. So how to provide the mindfulness means concerning the individual. According to Buddhism, individual is emotional, spiritual, rational being. So to provide the mindfulness, Buddhism says there should be 3 practices. First one is sila, morality. It's for the behavioral transformation. Before the mindfulness, we have to change the behavior of the griever. Second, samadhi. Samadhi is mean concentration. Concentration. This for the mental development. Morality for behavioral transformation. Samadhi for mental development, concentration. Then it comes panya. Panya, wisdom, cognitive transformation. So when you have the panya, a wise examination, you will have the wise examination only with mindfulness. So wisdom or a cognitive transformation is the path for mindfulness. Mindfulness is impossible without sila, behavioral transformation. This sila is for an emotional, spiritual and affective domain. Clear? Sila for spiritual you must, so we have to change the client at first before we bring him to the mindfulness. We have to change his behavior. How to change? Through his emotional, spiritual, affective transformation. Clear? Is it clear? So sila means this is the foundation of mindfulness. Mindfulness is the roof. Morality, behavioral transformation is the foundation. wall is the samadhi, then the mindfulness. What happened in the modern context regarding the mindfulness? I have huge criticism. They just give the roof for the client, no wall, no foundation. Clear? No wall. This is the wall. No foundation. So this is really very great insight. So going through this modern MBCT, MBA, yes, really we can provide the great insight, no doubt. But to bear this great insight, no wall, no foundation. It's really supposed to go relapse. This unbearable insight cannot be bear for the client. This insight again brings the client to relapse. The problems are being so serious. So first thing is the foundation. Foundation of the mindfulness is sila. It should be done with emotional, spiritual. So when we are going to change the client, griever, at first we should not provide him knowledge. We should not try to cognitively transform him or her. What we have to do? Through the religion, that's why we have the Buddha or the religion or the faith, what they believe. Emotional. One important part of the mindfulness is emotional, affective, spiritual part. That's a foundation. Then with this emotional, spiritual, affective, so we have to develop his concentration, mental development. In Western, we can say psychoeducation. With this mental development, psychoeducation, we can transform his mentality. This is the mindfulness. So in this cognitive transformation, we provide the wisdom for a client to see the very sublime, very subliminal or a latent tendencies. Subliminal. It means the mind, according to Western and Buddhist, it has 3 layers. This is the latent. This is the covered non-functional level. This is the covered functional level. This is the overt functional level. So when we develop the client mentality to scrutinize this level, this is functional verbally, physically. Functional level. This is covered functional level. So client should have this cognitive transformation to recognize his layers of the mentality. How we can bring about this very subtle mindfulness without sila, emotional, spiritual. How we can develop the mentality? So suddenly having unbearable insight means very dangerous. Very dangerous. So this is the Buddhist therapy, mindfulness. According to Vipassana, here we are using meditation. We call samatha. Samatha meditation. That's why Buddha introduced 40 meditation types to develop his mentality. Then here 4 types of mentality: mindfulness on body, mindfulness on feeling, mindfulness on the types of mind, and the causes of mentality, the last one. So this is Buddhist therapy. I will explain it. Problem is the time. So if you give me 3-4 hours, it's good. But this is the Buddhist psychotherapy. This is the application. Skills and ethics of the therapist. Skill and ethics of the therapist. Firstly, you have to listen to the client. Then you have to, second one, along the skills, then you have to bear the client problem in your mind. From your memory, from your understanding, you have to recognize the problem. Then you have to visualize the problem. Then as a therapist, you clearly understand what has really happened. These are the skills. Listening, retention, memorizing, visualization and comprehension. Then the noble catharsis, we must provide the chance for the client to vomit his problem noble vomiting, noble purgation. Buddhism says noble washing, noble draining out, providing noble I, that is noble catharsis. Arya means noble. So what we should, you can say, see feeling, it means mood structure, mood, M-O-O-D, mood structure, basis of the sensation. You must understand the mood structure of the client, that's feeling. When it comes to perception and reflection, it is cognitive structure, psychomotor basis, cognitive structure, perception and the reflection. When it comes to the 4 and 5, disposition and the proliferation, it is the conceptual structure. Conceptual structure. When you come to the consciousness, it is the brain structure, the total mentality, brain structure. Once again, first one, feeling, mood structure. Second and third, perception and reflection, cognitive structure. Fourth and fifth, conceptual structure. The last one is brain structure. This is the client. You have to recognize and analyze the total mentality of the client if you really want to remove the client grieving. How to remove? As we discussed, Sila, behavioral transformation through the mental development and cognitive transformation. This is Buddhist psychotherapy. Then when we come to the next one, noble vomiting, Buddhism gives so many terms for the catharsis, noble catharsis. It's just like we are going to vomit, clients, this feeling, perception, reflection, disposition, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana in Pali. So we must give the client to sufficient time for noble catharsis, for noble vomiting, noble purgation. In this way we provide him a noble I. It's mean noble I means we have some sutras. Buddha says that what is the noble I? Buddha says client is here, therapist is here. Therapist can see everywhere, every nook and corner, but client is here, he cannot see. There's a huge disturbance. This is the ignorance. So many other disturbances here. His eyesight is so limited. Even though being here, therapist say something he cannot see. So you need the advice, you need the assist, you need the instruction. Then you can bring the client here. Then earlier client say, no, I cannot see. Then the therapist say, earlier you said that you cannot see, but now you are seeing that, oh, far away, fond, far away, mountains, you can see everywhere. It means providing counseling at first and taking the client from down to the top level. This is noble life. Providing noble life. So this is called vomiting. This is called purgation. Purgation your cognitive, emotional. Earlier what we discussed, we must give a time for the client to vomit his all problem. It's a relief. If he or she wants to cry, give sufficient time to cry. Okay, then how we can change the sila? First one is through the spiritual transformation. Buddhism recognizes kamma, punabhava. So these terms we are using to transform the griever. We have a lot of texts, Tirokudda Sutta, the world of the outside, Vimanavatu and Petavatu. So in Buddhism, firstly we don't try to provide him knowledge, we just try to transform him in a spiritual way. To transform him in a spiritual way, first things we are using is karma therapy. So we have a discourse of lesser analysis. So if you do good, you will have good results. If you do bad, you will have bad results. So regarding your lost, regarding your departed, it means he's come. He's no more, he's gone. Why is that? Buddhism says that is karma. In Sri Lanka we had a great issue, tsunami problem. Lot of people died there. So at that time I was with my 100 Buddhist monks. I asked my Buddhist monk is that now it's time for us to use the karma therapy for the grievers. We arrange a vehicle and we practice a piritta chanting. So when they listen piritta, a lot of people came stopping their grieving. They say, so I am a lay person, they don't like to lay person in that sort of thing. So I use my student, Buddhist monks. So I asked them that please listen them. They ask, see Venerable, what happened to us? Why such things happen to me? So I asked my students stay there and let them to cry and use such things. In that point we need what? Karma therapy. So they ask, they are very good. They haven't done any like bad things. What is happened to my relatives? What is happened to my husband and innocent kids? How I bear it? In that case, karma therapy is so important. That's karma. That's regarding your previous. It may be previous. So, but we cannot say that's only previous. Then Buddhism use the great analysis of karma. When you do bad, bad results. When you do good, good results. But even though your departed have done bad, but we can change it into good. They already gone. But that may be due to their, in this present context they did good, but really they died. So even though they had bad previous karma, so we can change it. If not, it's re-becoming. So we are using this karma therapy. How we can change their departed world is transferring merit. So we have very great sources, Tirokudda as well as Petavattu. Petavattu means the world of departed. So in Buddhism it is believed that all departed people are in another world, that is the departed world. So if you are crying means the sorrow just goes to them. When you are crying too much, they are going to the so bad level. That's our belief. So if you cry on and on means they are going down. So when we are in the top of mountain and when they are throw water to, it suddenly goes down. In this way, when you are crying means you are sending so sorrowful things to your departed. First things what you have to do is stop your crying. If not, if you are crying means you are creating a bad world for them. So you can change the bad into good. First thing is that stop your cry. So this very important point, re-becoming. So in Buddhism says re-becoming, it has two components. First one is detachment and other one is attachment. We are human beings. We cannot get away from our departed. So we have attachment. If we have a great attachment, we are giving so much suffering to the departed world and our relatives. So re-becoming means having a new life. Having a new life means what you have to do? Having a new life for a client. Having a new life for a departed. Then what you have to do? You have to detach. You have to go away from crying. That's through the understanding. But we are human beings. We are emotionally, spiritually, affectively we have engagement. That is attachment. That's why we have to transform merits. So we have to disengage as well as engagement. We disengage from the departed through understanding. We have attachment with the departed transferring merit. Clear? That's how this is the karma therapy. We are human beings, we cannot forget really them. If we are forgetting means we don't have a heart. So that's why we are transferring merits. It is explained clearly in Petavattu Pali. Petavattu means other side of the world. So other sides of the world, it's explained. So Buddha used this one. A lady, she was crying for her daughter. Buddha asked that, to whom you are crying? She says that I am crying for my daughter. In this re-becoming, in this world, you have lost 84,000 daughters. To whom you are crying? If you cry again and again, so you have to cry for another 85 or 86 kinds of daughters. If you don't stop it, it means detach. Stop your crying. If not, you have so much attachment. Earlier I explained that attachment is the huge cause for a grieving. So Buddha says, at first stop attachment. Don't cry. But we cannot say that don't cry. Through this sort of story Buddhism provides, if you are crying on and on, you are crying next 60, 86, 87, 88,000 daughters. It's a re-becoming process. Circle. First thing is stop. Really we cannot stop. But we have to stop. So Visakha, she also lost a grandson. So through this sort of discussion, Buddha asked the Visakha that, do you see, have you seen in this city people without tears? She says, it's impossible. So Buddha says that if you have the attachment to the sons, then if you have 2 grandsons, you have to cry 2 times. If you have 10 grandsons, when they are dying, you have to cry 10 times. If you have 100 times you have to cry. If you just stop, if you have 2, you are crying 2 times. If you have 10, you are crying 10. Then when you disengage from 10, you have to cry 10 times, 9, 2 times, 1 time. If you don't have attachment, you don't need to cry. You don't need to cry because you don't have attachment. If you have 100 attachment, you have to cry 100 times. It means in this way Buddhism explains that if you have attachment, you have to cry. But the way to get rid of the grieving is get rid of the attachment. But it's difficult. Then Buddhism says, so really you cannot get rid of. Then you can have the attachment. How you can have the attachment? It's really from the transferring merits. So how really you can detach, the way is only to transferring merits, radiating merits. Then you can detach. It's a emotional, spiritual, through an emotional, spiritual bond, we detach. If we directly say that you must disengage, impossible. But we have to disengage. How to disengage? Through an emotional and spiritual bond. That's the first approach in Buddhism. So to explain this Petavattu Pali, story of the departed, Vimanavattu Pali, Tirokudda Sutta, lot of Jataka stories explain this theory. Petas mean our departed. Peta means to go, gone before. So this hungry ghost, that's the Buddhism suggests the word. So in this story Buddhism says that lot of departed are suffering from in the departed world when the griever is having so much suffering. So they are suffering there. How you can release from them? Give dana. donation, give foods for the hungers, give clothes for the people who don't have the cloth. This merit directly go to the departed. So they can release from the departed world and they can go to the new world. If you are crying, if you are having attachment, if you are having ashes of the departed, if you are having memories of the departed, if you are having huge attachment for the departed, means they cannot they cannot release from that level. It means you are keeping them in suffering. Don't do it. If you really love for them, disengagement through emotional bond, dana, it means giving, charity. So they can release from that level to a heaven. Heaven explained Vimanavattu. So the departed who were suffered after transferring merit, Buddhism explained that they went to the heaven. That's the way, that's how we come to this level, from spiritual and emotional transformation using karma therapy. That's their karma anyhow they had to face. That's why they died. So if you are crying, mean you again create another life for him to again the same death. Don't do it. Then remove the attachment. That's the first explanation. It goes in this way. So weeping, sorrow, lamentation will not benefit departed relatives in a way. That's Buddhist understanding. Then transform merits. Time is the problem. So Buddhism, going through a Tirokudda Sutta, it says that, see, just as the water falling on high land reaches down to the lowest land, even so what is given here accrues to the departed one. Just as swollen river fill the ocean full of soul, it means you are in high level, departed are in a low level. If you are crying, just go, that's crying, it gives suffering for them. If you transfer merit, directly go to them, so they can get rid of from that departed world. That's the, every Sunday we are doing here, transferring merits. So we gather together, our venerables comes, so we transfer merits for a departed all. So it is not enough. Most important thing is the cognitive transformation. So mindfulness on death. So now we are coming to here. Now spiritually we have transformed, emotionally we have transformed. Now we have to provide him the knowledge to understand what really the things are, what really as they are. That's the reality. To understand the reality, if something comes, if something is arising, it means it is existing. If something is existing, it is very sure that destruction is there, death is there. Arising, existence, and the death, destruction. So we have to understand arising, existence, and the destruction. To understand these three layers, we have to have mindfulness. How to bring the mindfulness? So Buddhism gives so many stories. A father, he was farming with his son. Suddenly he was died by an attack of a poisonous snake. Then he sent his wife, no need 2 lunch packets. I have only 1 because his son is already died. But instead of the lunch packet, send me flowers and other things which are so necessary to the funeral. So he sent this message to the wife. Wife recognized the message clearly. She didn't explain to the son's wife and the servant. She sent the 1 lunch packet with other things and then came together. Father first did his farming well. Then he ate the lunch packet nicely and they finished the funeral. So wife was there, mother was, father, and the servant. Then the god Soka, the leader of the heaven, he said, he's noticed that something is burning. It may be a delicious flesh of an animal. Without sorrow, they are burning something. He really wanted to see. He came down. Soka asked the leader of the heaven, he asked, are you burning a delicious flesh of an animal? No, this is our son. Then he says that he must be a very bad son. No, he was so dear to us. Why no any tears with you? Why we are having tears? This is a life. This is a life. So then Soka, or a leader of the god, he questioned at first father. Then he gives a very, very nice answer. Then he approached the mother. Mother also explained the same thing. Then he approached the sister. She said the same thing. And the wife. This is the life. It's the story. Behind the story, psychology is there. It means the cognitive transformation. So we have to see. We cannot recognize the death if we have not transformed his emotional and spiritual. If we have not, mental development of the client. If we don't provide the mental development, so we cannot see the things as they are. This father, mother, sister, they all had practiced mindfulness. They recognized the thing clearly. Soka was very happy. In this way, so another story, a father, he was a little bit selfish. He didn't give even the sufficient food for his son. Anyhow, due to an illness, he died. And he went to heaven. Then being at the heaven, he see that his father constantly goes to the cemetery and cry regarding dead son. The son now who was born in the heaven, having another form, he comes to the cemetery. When the father enters into the cemetery, father notices that a child is crying just like his son. He approaches him and asks that why you are crying. He says that I have a cart, but I don't have wheel. I have a horse cart, but I don't have wheel. I see that moon and sun are so quite fit to wheel. I can use the sun and the moon as my wheels of the horse cart. Father asked that how foolish you are, because you cannot take sun and the moon as the wheels of the horse cart. Then the son asked that among us who is the most foolish, because you are crying every day, coming here every day, you are crying your died son. But I am crying for the visible things, moon and the sun. It is so visible, but you are crying for invisible things. Among us who is the most foolish? Father says, I am the foolish. It means that I am the fool because I am crying for invisible things. We are crying for visible things among us. In the stories explains that in the final stage, we have to provide the knowledge, the cognitive, we have to come up with the cognitive transformation. But the most important thing is that our therapy is mindfulness. So mindfulness is not the mindfulness what it has been recognized in the modern context. Foundation of the mindfulness is the morality. We have to change the client emotionally and spiritually. So we should provide some facilities, some environment for the client to develop his spiritual and the emotional domain. So we need to have ceremonies, we need to have transferring merit. With that attachment and detachment process, we have to get rid of. Detachment is very important, but we are human beings, we are emotional and spiritual. So we have to have emotional and spiritual attachment. is good, but from emotional and spiritual we have the detachment. That's a first transformation. Then we have to provide the understanding. It means really when you read Tirokudda, Vimanavattu and Petavattu, it's nicely explained that if you are crying means you are giving so much suffering. Don't cry. Don't have attachment. They never can get rid of that departed world. You are giving so much suffering for them. So that's their karma. So if you don't change their karma, in the next life also they are having the same death. So change the bad karma of them. How? Through your action. Through your action. Through your actions means Buddhism says that you can change their bad. So we can really change our bad karma. So do good. Do more good. Supports to the society. Give dana. Supports to the poor people. So according to Buddhist context, dana is the most important approach to transform the merit for a departed. Then you have to come up with certain mental development approaches in Buddhism. Meditation. Meditation is to be used concerning the type of the client. We have different bodies and different physical and biological bodies. So then we have to come up with a relevant approach. That's why we have 40 regarding the mental development. In the final step, that is the mental, psychological, cognitive transformation through really the mindfulness. So mindfulness cannot be started with this link. This is the approach. Then, so the thing is that if you don't have attachment, then you don't have then you don't have tears. Thank you very much.
So as time is a bit limited, so we will take some because we have looked at the questions already. Some are already addressed by Professor Wasan during the talk. So we'll pick some of the important issues that were not addressed directly during the talk. 咁收到各位嘅問題啦，咁就因為時間所限，同埋好多問題其實都係教授喺剛才個公開講座裏邊都有提及嘅。咁就我哋提出一啲係關於係剛才係內容唔提及嘅問題，咁就向教授反問咁樣嘅。So this question is about meditation. Well, it is about meditation because you mentioned about different types of personality and different antidotes to it. So for the desired type of persons, what are the meditation objects that are sort of recommended by Buddhists?
So regarding the desire type, he has lot of attachment, desire. Then there are some meditation, we call that unpleasant. It means the meditation approaches which supposed to remove desire. Remove the desire. Normally breathe in and breathe out meditation, breathe in and breathe out meditation are quite fit to that 6 characters equally. But most important things that we call marananusati. It means mindfulness on death, mindfulness on changing and ugly things. It's mean not ugly. It means that we should through the meditation suppose to the client that how to get rid of the attachment. Then all the meditation approaches just like mindfulness on death, so equal and related to the desire character. When it comes to the hate, metta meditation, metta, loving kindness meditation for the hate, because he is having too much hate. To remove the hate, antidote is the metta, loving kindness. So delusion, deluded character, so he needs a concentration. Why? Mind is going here and there. So he has to keep the mind in one focus. So it's mean the concentration for a deluded character. So concentration here means the breathe in and breathe out, especially very important for a deluded. When he breathe in and out, the deluded character cannot send his mind here and there. He has to keep his mind on breathe in and breathe out. It's for the delusion. Hate character, it means loving kindness. For a desire character, mindfulness on death. Okay.
Okay, so the next one is about counseling to, because just now you were talking about mostly the Buddhist concept. So this question is about how we use the most direct and most simple word to give counsel to those who are non-Buddhists. 咁點樣用最簡單同埋最直接嘅語言去向一啲非佛教徒講關於呢個喪親嘅處理嘅情緒處理方法
I like this question. So the prohibited word in the Buddhist counseling is Buddhism. Buddhism is neither religion nor philosophy. It's neither religion nor philosophy. It is universal. When you have a non-Buddhist, don't use the terms, Buddhist technical terms. For example, there's a sutra called Dhananjani. He was a Brahmin. Then the Brahmin came for a counseling. The counselor was Venerable Sariputta. He, thinking and understanding the non-Buddhist background of that Brahmin, he gave counseling. And he developed this Brahmin mentality into Brahman, according to the Brahmanism, Brahmanic salvation, Brahmanic liberation. It means Brahmahood. So after giving the counseling regarding his Brahmanic background, so Buddha at that level, developing his mentality, non-Buddhist mentality into the Brahmanic level, he died there. Then after going back to the temple, Buddha asked that, why you didn't mention about Buddhist Nibbana? He said he wasn't a Buddhist. He wasn't a Buddhist. That's why I developed his mind into the Brahmahood, Brahmanic world. Buddha kept silent. It means Buddha appreciated. So in Sri Lanka, we have a lot of Islam and Christian. In that point, I don't use the word Buddhist. Without using the Buddhist words, we can use it. But why? It is universal. It's universal. Here you can come up with Hong Kong Buddhism, Sri Lanka, Sri Lankan Buddhism. When it goes to Burma, Burmese Buddhism. But Buddhism means Buddhism. It is neither religion nor philosophy. It's a path leading to Nibbana. It is universal for whole human being in this universe, and if there are other, for them even too. Thank you very much.
Okay, so because time is running short, I'm also picking up some more questions that are not addressed. Other questions are like relationship between dana and grieving, and then so how to let go of attachment. So this content is covered. So, so this question is about the termination of counseling, sort of. Let me translate first. 咁剛才其實有其他問題，咁多謝各位嘅踴躍發問嘅。咁因為其他問題裏邊有啲係關於譬如係佈施同埋呢個喪親嗰種情緒嘅關係乜嘢，同埋係關於即係如何放下執着咁樣。其實剛才教授喺個公開講座裏面都提及過。咁我哋就揀啲係冇即係內容上面係教授冇提及過嘅。So this question is about termination of the counseling exercise. So if a griever is receiving already counseling services during the grieving or is under medication taking drugs, so how do we determine when should we stop the counseling or the medication? So 咁我翻譯下先。咁如果係已經係一路接受緊呢個係呢種咁樣嘅輔導服務，或者係用緊其他嘅藥物去輔助自己嘅心理情緒得到平復嘅時候，點樣去確定去到邊一點先應該停止呢個輔導服務或者係藥物嘅服用呢？
So good question too. Then the thing is that, so I am practicing this. So I have 4 master degree in Buddhist counseling, and I have my students, those who have completed this degree as well as they are psychiatric doctors. So we are having a good relationship. So when the psychiatric doctor sends me the client, so within our good, the relationship, we have to decide that what is my counseling or psychotherapy part, what his part. So having this understanding, without having this clear understanding, we cannot stop or extend or stop, reduce it. So when we have a good relationship with the psychiatric doctor and within us, so we can decide. So it's really based on the nature and the context of the problem. So we cannot say the place. So if you have good understanding, so we can reduce the drugs. So we have reduced sometime 500 milligrams into 100. That's due to our good understanding. So if the psychiatric doctor haven't a good understanding regarding Buddhist, sometimes we cannot. But if we have the good relationship, so we can do it. So in my practice, so I am all the time working with getting the support from the psychiatric doctor. In that sense, we are so successful due to our understanding. So we think and we recognize that what is our part. So within this recognition, so we are working together. That's the answer.
Okay, so thank you so much, Professor. So as time is really running short, so for those questions that we cannot really address, you are most welcome to stay behind and ask Professor personally. I think 咁因為時間所限啦，如果剛才各位嘅提問係有回答唔到嘅，咁希望各位理解嘅，咁或者亦都可以建議大家可以講盡完咗之後留低咧，就直接向教授發問都可以嘅。So we thank you so much for each body's participation. So before we end, because the Buddha Dharma Center of Hong Kong is continuously providing Buddhist educational services to local community. Also, we also welcome people from all nationalities. So, our top programs, the Master Class in Buddhist Studies in Chinese and English, and also our Diploma and Pali in Buddhist Studies will go on in 2018, and then next year, 2019, we'll launch new years of programs. Like Professor will also be part of our teaching team, and our programs will continue. So the next intake will be the 2019 Master Class in Buddhist Studies in the English medium. So announcements we make quickly on our website as well as through different channels. So if you are really interested, you're most welcome to subscribe to our mailing list, and also you can get in touch with our volunteers to get more information. 咁我哋專業翻譯都做緊翻譯，咁我唔譯落去啦。咁就there will be all other courses as well. We provide as best as we can most high-level Buddhist studies education to the local community. We also have language classes like Pali and Sanskrit courses, which will also go on in 2019. So please stay updated with our website. We'll try our best to provide more Dharma services to different types of to cater for different needs. If everybody has any question, you're most welcome to stay behind. And also, if anybody would like to contribute to the Dharma propagation mission of the center, you're most welcome, because there are boxes around and you can make donations anytime to our monastics too. So once again, we thank you everybody for coming again, and tomorrow morning we will have our regular meditation and sermon service by Professor Dharma Jyoti. So we invite everybody to join us to this wonderful Dharma journey that leads everybody to a much better state of existence. So if there are any questions, you're most ready to stay behind. And after this talk, we'll have also other Buddhist classes going on, like Buddhist psychotherapy by Professor tonight, 3 hours. And then we also have classes by Dr. Chiu in the diploma program, which is about historical background of Buddhism, and also another party class. So our Dharma mission will continue. So please join us. So thank you for coming.
So thank you very much for your paying attention. Thank you.